Hello, welcome to the program Political Viewpoint on ASO Television. My name is Topsy Gimba, your host, and I urge you to be with me on this program this evening. As you all know, Political Viewpoint is a program that comes to you 3 times in a week at about this time, where we look into national issues and discuss them holistically. The program also gives me that opportunity to invite personalities to be with me in the studio, where they analyze issues that will be discussed on that particular edition. Of course, as you know, Nigeria as a country is facing a very big challenge on the energy sector, where petrol or petroleum products are very hard to come by. As a result of that, many things have really come into play. Hunger, transportation, and everything has increased. Nigerians are really complaining. They are trying to find out ways of solving the problem. The government is being saddled with that responsibility, coming up with policies on how this problem could be resolved. But of course, we all know at the end of the day, things will really get better. Of course, citizens who are very concerned about the challenges that the country is facing are equally putting themselves together in trying to find solutions to some of these challenges we are being faced in the energy sector. And you all know there are these non-governmental organizations that are known at the international level that have been there for quite some time, try as much as possible to support the indigents in society by providing 1 or 2 things to them. Sometimes they come up with policies by calling people to sit together and then discuss on some of these issues. And we all know there is this well-known organization that is well-known to Nigerians. You all know what they call CDOX. We have CDOX in Nigeria. It has been there for a very long time. They call themselves National Association of CDOX, or either the Pirates Confraternity. They are broken into groups. The one that we have is in Zuma, so that they're going to speak to us on some of these issues concerning energy. I want to know what are they really doing on ground in finding solutions to some of these challenges we have in this country. And I have with me in the studio indeed one of the members of the National Association of CDOX in Nigeria, and not any other person than Victor Ikiroko Kapum Zuma Dek. It's a pleasure having you on the program this evening, Victor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Yes, when I first saw your name and I saw the spelling, Victor with KTO, I said, is this man from Russia?
No, I'm Nigerian, full-blooded Nigerian. No counterfeit, full-blooded Nigerian, yes.
I said, K, what's the K? I said, okay. I want to see that man. So when I saw it, I really say, yeah, he actually has that name K in it.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course, energy sector is one of these issues that Nigerians are really bothered with. And thank God, you need to put yourself in perspective for those who have never known about CDOX, to know basically who you are and what do you do before you go into what you have to do with the energy crisis we have in this country. Yeah,
thank you very much, Mr. Gimba. The National Association of CDOX is a charitable and humanitarian organization founded in 1952 in the University College of Ibadan. One of the key founders that appears to be known all over the globe, Professor Wole Soyinka. Basically, we exist to improve community and communal life and living, and we are found across the world, every continent of the world.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Just purely for humanity's sake.
Yes, we exist to make sure that life has a meaning for every single human being, rich, poor, irrespective of your race or sex.
Okay.
Yes.
As Nigerians, what will you say with the recent development we are hearing in the energy sector, and what are you really doing to ensure that you mitigate or carry Nigerians along, and then providing succor in their minds that indeed what we are seeing will actually get over them in due course?
Yeah, well, as an advocacy organization, one of the things we do is to bring people together, to have a conversation or conversations around national issues, policies of government, and laws, as it affects the generality of the people and society. So as it relates to the current energy crisis that Nigeria faces today, one of the things we want to do come 28th of this month, September, is to pool, experts together to have a conversation around the energy crisis as it affects Nigerians, and what we possibly can do to alleviate the problems faced by households and businesses. Because you must agree with me that the ongoing energy crisis, affects every strata of society. Now, if you talked about cost of pump price, for instance, the moment that is scaled upwards, it affects the common man on the street. It affects the woman in the market, because it will affect every single item, in the market, because essentially Nigeria is, you could say 80% dependent on petrol, to traverse, to move their products from farms to warehouses, from warehouses to the markets. So the cost of transportation would have adverse effects on all of these items. So there is the need, an absolute need actually, to look at, these crisis and find ways to mitigate the effects. And so one of the things we want to do is to have this Citizen Summit on the 28th of September, where we have a pool of experts come to share knowledge and ideas on how we can navigate these things, and then also advocate for community-led initiatives, and also public policy reforms. Because some of these reforms, what percentage of the public participates in decision making in the country? So these are the things we want to look at in the summit. How can the public and the government work together to ensure that policies that come out of government offices or corners would positively affect society and individuals, irrespective of your class in society?
Okay.
Yes.
Can that be seen as your objectives, as much as you are calling for summit? That which you have just mentioned now, is that what you intend to achieve? Now
the objective of this summit primarily is to see how we can share ideas and share knowledge, and at the end of the day work out positive solutions on how we handle the crisis that we are being faced with presently today.
So if you are looking for ways of solving the problems, do you acknowledge that there are problems?
There are problems. If there are no problems, what are we doing? Yeah. Our primary goal in this summit is to find answers, find solutions to the prevailing problems. So yes, there are problems. We admit there are problems. We also admit that the government itself or alone cannot solve all the problems. Therefore, we need a pool of experts who can share their knowledge with governments or on government platforms through this summit, so that, because it is hoped that the government itself will listen to what comes out of this summit and review some of its policies.
Okay.
Yes.
So who are you inviting at this summit, so that we basically know that these people are inviting, they are actually within the policy framework of Nigeria. So by the time they have finished what you are doing at the summit, they now go back with the communique to the government and say, this is what a particular non-group at the international level and locally in Nigeria is saying.
Yes, thankfully we've been able to invite some members of government platforms. We've extended our invitations to members of the downstream regulatory agencies or commissions. We've invited some members of the House of Representatives, so because these are the people that can influence government policies. We as an organization, we are not part of government, but we can push through ideas through agencies of government. So we've invited some members of the agencies of government who are direct players in the industry, in the energy sector. Yes. So we're going to have as guest speakers, or the keynote speaker rather, in the person of Dr. Ayokule Fagbemi, who was one time chair of ECOSOC, and presently also a member of ECOSOC, and presently a director in SEPSAD. And then we are also looking at bringing in a few members of the House of Representatives, because they are the lawmakers. Essentially, they would work with the executives, to see that the laws they make for the country and the policies they approve, are policies that would, foster investment that would help the poorest of the poor in the country.
Okay.
Yes.
Will there be any time frame we set aside? For instance, now that the summit will be coming up on the 28th of this month, and basically you just want to ensure that government should do the needful by providing succor in the mass of Nigeria, looking at the way things are really going, and you people that are very much into the issues related to humanity, you are concerned about that. will you provide government a particular time required for them to implement some of these ideas you are likely to come up with at the summit?
Well, as an organization, what we need to do is not to give targets to government as per time. However, we need to work with institutions of government, in the shortest possible time to see that, policies that are framed are in the best interest of the ordinary man on the streets. Yeah, so it's going to be a continuous conversation with all institutions of government as far as Nigerians and the challenges we face go. So it's not about saying, oh, you must do this in 2 weeks or in 10 days or in 5 years, but we must become partners of government, to ensure that Nigeria turns out to be the country that we all dream of.
Yeah. So how concerned are you with the recent development we are beginning to hear in the energy sector, particularly the petroleum sector, where there is this up and down kind of the actual amount that's supposed to be fixed for a particular pump price with the coming of Dangote refinery in Nigeria, and you are expecting that at the end of the day, let there be something less for Nigeria to really have access to than the way it is being sold today in the market. So how concerned are you?
Yeah, we're very concerned.
Looking at Dangote coming on board, as a matter of fact.
Yes, we are very concerned. As a matter of fact, the back and forth between the NNPCL and Dangote has been a source of major worry, not just to us as members of the National Association of Sea Dogs, but to Nigerians. Now, prior to Dangote's coming into the oil sector, the belief was that if we had crude locally refined, we would have cheaper access to petroleum products. But as it turns out now, this is not the case presently. And we, as Nigerians, we do not actually know how much Dangote sells his oil to the NNPCL. NNPC says this, he sells to them at XY amount. He says, no, this is not what I sell. So there's a bit of a certain level of opacity in that sector. So the NNPCL needs to come through and come clean to, with Nigerians to say, okay, this is how much we are buying from Dangote, hoping that Dangote does not contest the figure. And so Nigerians know that, okay, this is what NNPC is buying from Dangote, and this is what NNPC is selling to Nigerians for. However, there's also the question of why should the NNPC or the NNPCL be the middleman between Dangote refinery and we Nigerians, the direct consumers? Why would they not let Dangote sell to the marketers, independent marketers, directly, so that these marketers can then sell directly to the consumers? These are questions that NNPC needs to answer. They have not done so. But if and when they do, it will provide a certain level of clarity, between, in what is going on between themselves and Dangote refinery. Okay,
Mr. Vito, will you be able to come up with these on the day of the summit on the 20th? We'll be able to come out and say those things you are saying, so that at the end of the day, let Nigerians know basically that things are not really going on well in that sector. We'll be able to come up with this idea. The
essence of the summit is to find answers to these challenges.
Yes,
if you do not mention these challenges, how do you then find the answers?
Yes.
So first is admit these problems are there, then mention them, because again, not everybody, you can't say all the 200 million of us is aware of these challenges. So you need to mention them.
Yeah.
We need to build and create and sustain awareness. It's the only way we can interface with government to say, listen, government, this is where we are. This is where we desire to be. How do we get there? So we cannot form a partnership, with the government to say, let's work together to get to our destination. Yeah. So these problems must be highlighted, must be mentioned, and must be addressed.
Are you satisfied that just calling a summit, looking at this problem in the broader sense of it, it does not only I look at summit to be intellectually driven than meeting the locals who are directly involved in this suffering we're talking about. Why wouldn't you expand far beyond just calling summit and calling intellectuals to come and be discussing? I'm not looking further to meeting people in the market, creating this awareness in their minds to know basically that you are really concerned about their problems.
I'm thankful that in your opening statement you mentioned that we've not only been in existence, but we've also worked in communities.
Yeah.
So before we got to the point of having this summit, we have actually interfaced with local community members. I live in a local community. You live in a local community. Okay, so there is no way we want to have a summit like this and make it elitist. No, it is the feedback that we get. The market woman does not have access to government.
Yeah.
And she does not have a platform to air her views.
Exactly.
So they talk through us. You know, because we are also members of the community. So these people who do not have these platforms or access to these platforms, they speak through us.
Yeah.
So we come forth to say, listen, government, listen this sector, listen that sector. We are citizens of this country. These are the challenges we are facing in this time, and this is what we think or believe can be done and should be done to alleviate our pains. So this is what this summit is about. The summit is not about the elites. The summit is about addressing the core issues in the energy sector. When we talk about energy sector, we're not just talking about petrol.
Yeah, there are many.
Why do we need to segregate, you know, the Nigerian citizens into bands? Why is it that we cannot simply provide energy to every Nigerian? So you pay as you consume.
Yeah.
Why do we need to say band B, band A, band 10, band whatever? So these are questions to be answered. These are things that needs government attention.
Honestly.
You have come with class stratification in the power sector.
Yeah.
What is the motivation? And what is the intendment? What do you intend to achieve with this segregation? How well did you have a consult with the citizens before taking this step? When the ban thing came up, if you recall, Nigerians were crying everywhere.
Exactly.
Because we didn't understand what was going on. We didn't understand what the intendment of government is. We still do not. And government at this point have not even addressed it. I read in one of these online news not too long ago that the Minister of Power says that we should expect further increase in unit cost of energy. What have you done to improve service to the ordinary man on the streets? We haven't seen that, but you want to increase the cost of consumption. So there's a huge disconnect between those who function in the government sector and those of us ordinary citizens. And that chasm needs to be bridged. There doesn't seem to be enough communication going on, between the government and the governed. Yeah. These are some of the things that we need to deal with.
So what are the possible outcomes you are likely to get?
Yeah, we are
at that particular summit?
Summit, yes. One of the major things.
I know you have identified the challenge, and actually you have called people who are within the corridors of power to be part of this summit.
Yes.
And then of course you have spelled out the objectives. So what are the possible outcomes that you want to now go out with and use those outcomes for possible achievement going forward?
One of the first things we want to achieve with this summit and our further engagement with society and government, yes, is partnership. The government must learn to partner with its citizens. You cannot govern in isolation. The citizens must have a role to play in your government. So you're making laws for a people who do not understand the purpose of the law and how the law is expected to be driven. It's not going to work, never going to work. Sure. So that we want to work towards establishing that level of partnership between the governed and the government. Yes. So that's one of the major things. We also want to use that platform as an advocacy platform to drive community-led initiatives, and push for renewable energy consumption. Because the way we are going, you look at our energy future, it will get to a point where Nigerians will no longer have access to power. And that is something we cannot afford. So we need to begin to look at our energy infrastructure and see how we can improve on these energy infrastructure that we presently have and how they can best serve the country in the long term, in the short term, medium term, and in the long term. So we need to foster that degree of transparency and partnership.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a functional office, for instance? Like now, you are going to hold a summit on the 28th.
Yes.
And if for any other reason, those who will be monitoring or watching you or listening to you discover that there is something very tangible to solve some of the problems the country goes through, where can they find you?
We have our national headquarters at 55 Gardiner School Road, Kubwa. That's our national headquarters. Yeah, so anybody who wants to see us can meet us there.
Okay.
Yes, and we are open.
Are you thinking?
We are open to ideas.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you thinking of really going further than this by the time this summit ends on the 28th? What do you plan to do? Because this for the fact that you are going to have a summit, I invite other persons who are within the corridors of power to listen to what you have at that particular summit. Will not provide a solution immediately to government, but of course it's going to provide a long-term solution for them to study into what you have said and then come out with the best solution to it. But then it cannot be done immediately. So what will you do immediately after this summit so that we end this problem as quickly as possible?
Yes, we appreciate the fact that no government can transform the country overnight. Yeah. We appreciate that. And whatever ideas this summit throws up, we also appreciate the fact that, you know, they are not going to be workable overnight. Yeah, so at the end of the summit, we are going to have a communique which will push through, you know, to policymakers, you know, to look at, study, because these are ideas coming from professionals, experts in the industry, people who have played in that industry. Okay, so we push the communique through to them to look at and pick out what they find that can help them in their reforms. Now, like I said earlier, this engagement is not a one-off. It's going to continue. Yeah, so we'll continue to interface with, you know, government functionaries, CSOs, NGOs, and all, you know, at various strata and levels of society, until we get to the point where there is a clear direction as to where we are headed, how we are heading there, and when we hope to arrive at our destination. Okay. Yes.
So, I know we are gradually coming to the end of the program so that you will, we'll round up as quickly as possible. So basically, how many people are you expecting at that summit?
Yeah, well, the hall is fairly a large one, so yeah, we expect good number. Yeah. We expect good number from all strata of the Nigerian society, market women, taxi drivers, Okada riders, people from government, like I said, private sector, and all that. Because at the end of the day, it's about us. It's not about the government. Yes. So it's about us. So we must bring, you know, all of these people together to have this very deep, you know, conversation that will, you know, take us to our destination.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Aside from this summit that is coming up very soon, has there been anything majorly, like the way you are facing the issue concerning energy crisis in Nigeria that is biting us very hard? Have you ever resolved a very perennial problem at the national level that you came into it and you advised government and the advice was taken and then became successful? Have you ever done that since you came into existence?
Yeah.
I'm going outside what...
Yes, I understand that.
I don't want to establish a linkage between what you will say and what you have said.
Yes, yeah, definitely. We've done things in the past that has, you know, helped government reform, you know, certain, you know, structures or system within the fold of government. The Federal Safety Corps is a prime example that you can look at. If you know the history of that organization, you know that we played a role in its formation. Okay. Yes.
Are we expecting Professor Wole Soyinka at the summit? Your boss.
He's not in Abuja at present, so if he was, he definitely was going to be there, but he's not around. So yes.
So is there anything possibly you should have said but you couldn't before we draw the curtains?
Yeah, I don't quite think so. Other than the fact that, you know, government must learn to listen to its citizen. If you're my father and you do not listen to me, you do not know what my worries are, you do not know what my challenges are. So, but if you do listen to me, you understand that I've got problems, and that because you know I have problems, you identified the problem. And like the saying goes, a problem identified is half solved. Yeah, so government must learn to listen to its citizens to be able to solve or respond to their problems. Okay. Thank you.
And I equally know that you are not confrontational.
No, we're not. We are partners. We're partners in progress. Our aim is not to ridicule or, you know, demean government or government policies or structures. No, our aim primarily is to work with government to improve society. Okay. Yes, that's our aim.
But you've been doing this for a very long time.
That's right.
Is there going to be any success at the end? Looking at the crisis the country goes into, will you have your opinion that indeed something positive might come out despite the fact that we're facing challenges?
The one thing I will say to that is, even like they say, morning comes after the darkest time of the night. So there's hope. There's hope in Nigeria. There's hope for Nigerians. We will defeat the problems we face today as long as we agree to work together.
Okay.
Yes.
Still tell us more. National, what's it called?
National Association of Sea Dogs, Pirates, Confraternity.
And you've been there for a very long time.
Yes, and we'll continue to be there.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I've been speaking with Captain Victor Ikiruku, Zuma Deck, National Association of Sea Dogs, Pirates, Confraternity, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. You listened to what he said. Of course, there's going to be a summit that will be coming up this week here in Abuja, and the primary issues that are there is to address some of the crises we have in the energy sector, ranging from power to petroleum sector. And of course, they have decided that indeed so many people who are within government and outside government are going to be there. So at the end of the day, they'll come up with a communique that will provide for Nigeria to have a follow-up and for government to use as a guide in making sure that policies are well implemented for Nigeria to enjoy. I really appreciate you for taking time to watch us on this program. We shall be doing that some other time again. Like I said, I had Victor Ikiruku, Captain Zuma Deck, National Association of Sea Dogs, Pirates, Confraternity, Zuma Deck in Abuja. I thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Again, my name is Topsy Gimba, your host. We shall be doing that continuously tomorrow with yet another guest. News will be coming your way at 7, so stay tuned. Don't go away. See you and bye-bye.